r/shortscarystories posted by u/Goodnight sharpsticks. I respected her. When I saw the email sitting in my work inbox, my immediate thought was to delete it. That would have been in line with company policy. Subject: Sarah Cole. I hope you all liked the video I've linked. Bet you never imagined she was such a cum-gargling slut, right? FYI, Sarah Cole is fake, fake, fake. The church-going bitch act is just that, all an act. This is the real Sarah. Sarah Cole started 2 weeks ago as a temp. She was a beautiful girl, and so small and young, barely out her teens. She seemed so sweet, with a quiet, tinkling voice. She didn't deserve this. Revenge porn is a crime now, right? I couldn't just delete it, that would be destruction of evidence. I also didn't want to report it to our boss. He's an old dinosaur, and you know how those guys can be. While guys like me are a bit more enlightened, and let women express their sexuality as they choose in their own time, he'd probably blame Sarah. I respect women. I'd asked Sarah out for a drink at the end of her first week, and she just blushed and told me she didn't date at work. I totally get that, so I just asked her for a hug instead to clear the air. No hard feelings. I asked her out again last Friday, but only because she'd been smiling at me all week. She said the same thing. I respect women, so I won't ask again, unless she gives me some sort of sign. I checked where the email was sent from. It was just a Gmail account made up of a bunch of numbers. No clues there. I also couldn't see the other emails it had been sent to. Besides, back to the numbered email, I guess the rest of us had been BCC'd. So the only thing I could do was watch it. I knew it would be invading her privacy, me seeing her do this kind of private stuff, but I couldn't very well report it to the police without seeing if the link actually linked to something that was a crime, right? I had to do it, for Sarah. I waited till I was home and clicked on the link. Something was wrong though. It loaded up to a video of a guy sitting in front of a computer, with a recording shot slightly from the right so his screen was visible. I couldn't quite make out what was on his screen. Was that another guy sitting in front of his computer? As I watched, someone stepped in behind the guy, both the guys, and dragged knives across their throats. I felt my throat falling open in unison with theirs and saw them both turn in horror. As I turned in horror, I couldn't speak. I just gurgled as two others gurgled out of my laptop speaker. 3 tinkling voices said, "Fucking creeps never change." Posted by u/Brugalug. The last good night. Good night, sweetheart, I whisper, as I carefully extract myself from my 4-year-old daughter's bed. Another bedtime story over and one more step toward adulthood. Why can't they stay little forever? I exit the bedroom like a ninja, careful not to let too much of the hall's light shine on her sleeping face, then quietly close the door so that the latch clicks home. "Daddy? Are you still there?" I hold my breath, then let go an exasperated sigh. I thought I had finally gotten Sarah to sleep. Now it was going to be at least another half hour of effort. It had already been a long day. Before I can answer, I hear another voice, a stranger's. "Yes, darling. Daddy loves you and will never leave you." Who the hell is in Sarah's room? "Sarah!" I shout at the shut door, then slam it with the palm of my hand. "Can I have another hug, Daddy?" "Sure thing, sweetie," comes the reply, in a near replica of my own voice. So close but with something else in it that I can't pinpoint. "Sarah! That's not Daddy!" I scream. She doesn't hear me. The door still won't budge, even when I throw my whole weight into it. "Your beard tickles, Daddy," Sarah giggles. "Get away from my daughter!" I shout, as I try to beat a hole through the wood. I try the knob again, but the metal has become molten hot and instantly sears my palm. "Why's your mouth getting so big, Daddy?" I hear my daughter's angel voice ask. I sense only the slightest bit of unease. It's so stretchy. "Sarah! Why can't she hear me? Where is the rest of my family? Don't you touch her. Get away from her." "Daddy, you're scaring me," I hear her say, with tears in her voice. "Stop it." I now know what was in the stranger's voice, pure evil. I suddenly remember there's a hatchet in the garage. My feet don't move as fast as they should, but somehow I make it there. The hatchet is hanging on a peg. I snatch it and return as fast as humanly possible to Sarah's bedroom door. It's no use. Even after a rage-fueled frenzy, the door remains unscathed and solid. No sound comes from the room now. As tears run down my cheeks, the door slips slightly open. It takes a second for it to register. My chest heaves, I pant, then throw open the door, ready to chop down whatever is touching my Sarah on the other side. However, all that greets me is a blood-soaked pile of sheets and blankets beside an open window, curtains blowing in the cool night breeze. Somewhere far off a dog howls, crickets chirp, and my daughter is gone. Posted by u/brugalug. Crawl space. As I stare at the warped, black-painted, metal door to my crawl space, I breathe deeply to still my nerves. It'll be fine. Anything you find under there will be more afraid of you than you are of it. And it's just a kitten. Kittens are cute. That was my attempt at soothing myself. It didn't work. We moved into this house just over 2 years ago, unable to believe the deal we got for the amount of land and living space, and I had never gotten the courage to crawl underneath. I didn't have a reason to. Everything worked, so there was nothing that would necessitate going into its dark underbelly. Recently, our air conditioner had some issues. It's way too hot in Georgia for that. Since our house is more than a few decades old, the ductwork for the system is in our crawl space. The entire AC unit is connected to a hole punched out of the bricks beneath our living room. The end result is that there is a significant gap between the bricks and the ductwork inside our unit. Per our AC technician, there's some pretty large feces in there. Much bigger than a rodent. It's probably a raccoon or something, pretty common. The problem is that this unit is a bit older, so it sits on this pedestal which has a nice sized gap for these sorts of things to get in. I tried to call pest control, but they couldn't make it out for 2 more days. Now, my 11-year-old son tells me he has been hearing sounds coming from his air vent for quite a while. He says he didn't think much about it and thought it was just house noises. After I informed the family what the technician said, my son said he would listen more closely. Tonight, he swears he heard a kitten mewing. Unfortunately, I have a soft spot for kittens that overtakes my fear of dark, cramped spaces under my house. I unlock and remove the door, then shine my flashlight into the pitch-black space. Mazes of pipes and insulated ductwork meet my eyes, a split second before the stench of feces and urine hits my nose. How hadn't we smelled it before? I get on my hands and knees, but I can't see very far inside. Flat on my belly, I wriggle beneath a piece of ductwork. It looks like a toilet exploded in here. The smell is overwhelming, but at least I can hear the kitten now. Its mew is tiny and scared. We've always wanted a cat, but never found time to get one. Coming, kitty, I croon. My claustrophobia is setting in. Wires are catching my pants every 5 feet or so. It's slow going. I see something, eyes. Human eyes. Mew, mew. My flashlight lights up something that might be human. 2 little gray skin stretched over bones. I try to scream, but nothing comes out. My foot is tangled, I can't turn around. It's coming. Posted by u/foggyglasseye. Sunlight Lane Daycare. When the daycare down the street reopened, the parents of Sunlight Lane saw it as a godsend. The old daycare had been shut down months ago after the owner of the property had kicked the tenants out, but Mrs. Lindsay had moved in and picked up where her predecessors left off. For an affordable fee, her staff would take great care for children of all ages, with a variety of activities both fun and educational. Even better, Mrs. Lindsay lived on site, so parents wouldn't need to rush home from work to pick their kids up. The parents of Sunlight Lane came home early one day, after hearing about the fire that had consumed the daycare. By the time they arrived, the building was a shell, a husk of its former self. The firefighters had stopped the blaze from spreading to other buildings, but they couldn't save the daycare. When the parents were told that there were no bodies recovered, a brief moment of relief was replaced by a new fear. If my child isn't in there, then where are they? Earlier that afternoon, as the children were eating their lunch, Mrs. Lindsay announced that everyone needed to finish their food quickly, as they had a very special surprise waiting for them. They were going on a field trip. One of the children, who Mrs. Lindsay thought was far too smart for his age, questioned whether they would need their parents' permissions to go. Before she had the chance to come up with an answer, the ketamine had begun to take effect, and soon Mrs. Lindsay was the only conscious person in the room. The children were bound and carried, through the garage, into the daycare's van. Laid side by side, they slept through the entire journey. One child, a young girl who was still far too drowsy to consider her surroundings, began to stir as she was carried down the steps. She felt the sunlight on her skin for the last time as she was carried through the trees and down the steps to her new and final home. Posted by u/Guyox. Got ID? Bro, I still don't get why you can't just buy the booze for me. Figures my younger brother would want to wuss out at the last second, right as we're huddled outside the liquor store. Sure I could, I mockingly reply, wrapping an arm around the teen's shoulders. Except then it wouldn't be much of a rite of passage, eh doofus? Landon nods sheepishly. Anyway, you've got nothing to worry about. You're half a foot taller than I am, plus that fake ID I made you is my best work yet. His eyes furrow doubtfully as he peers over the plastic card for the 100th time today. The replica of a driver's permit is indistinguishable from an ordinary DMV license, with the addition of a fake title and address. But the name Angus Clay Robertson? Do you really think I could pass for a 22-year-old named Angus? To this complaint, I just roll my eyes and shove him in the direction of the liquor shop. Get something decent, I yell. From near the shop window, I watch as Landon gingerly selects a wine bottle and joins the queue. One by one, the line in front of him empties. Soon enough, it's his turn at the counter. ID? Asks the middle-aged shopkeeper disinterestedly from inside. Landon fumbles for a few seconds before producing the doctored license, holding it up for the clerk to read. The shopkeeper's face glazes over in concentration. Then, very suddenly, he snatches the card out of Landon's hands. When the man finally speaks, his voice is quivering with rage. You're him, aren't you? You're the son of a bitch drunk driver who killed my son. What? Landon blanches, clearly confused. No sir, I think you have me confused with someone else. Don't fucking lie to me. The shopkeeper screams. Angus Clay Robertson from Bloomington, Minnesota? It was all over the papers, I'd know that name fucking anywhere. By now, my skittish brother can barely stammer a response. And no man, no. This isn't even my real ID, it's just a fa. Smash. I rush to the entryway to see Landon slumped unconscious on the ground, red blood seeping from his skull into a pool of redder wine. Standing over him is the shopkeeper, clutching the neck of the Merlot bottle he smashed over my brother's head. At the sight of my handiwork, I barely stifle a grin. Everything's gone exactly as I predicted it'd go when I picked out this liquor store and printed the name on his ID. Lucky Landon might have been gifted with height and looks, but I always had him beat when it came to brains. Poor kid, I think mirthfully. Not everyone can handle their first bottle.